I'm Lee Klein. I'm the technical director at the Criterion Collection. We're going to talk about Foreign Correspondent. The original negative that went through the camera that Hitchcock shot was at the Library of Congress, which is great because most times a negative from that era doesn't exist. So there's lots of issues about printing from generational use that causes problems. Things like weave, where the film will move around, flicker. There's light that gets in between the printing of the negative to the positive. So when you can get the original negative and it's in good condition, you're in great shape. We scanned it. We were pretty surprised to see that the negative from 1940 was in such great shape. In 2K, the scanning takes about 2 days. In 4K, it takes 4 times as long. So you would need at least a week to scan a 90-minute movie. We had a little bit of a time crunch on there. We decided to do this scanning in 2K and do the restoration in 2K as well. We put up the film, we scan it, it's frame by frame, light goes into it, shoots it, makes a file. The files are then collected and brought in as film reels, so each film reel has a file for each frame. In order to try to be accurate to what the film should have looked like, there's a combination of things we can do. One is we look at the cinematographer's work from the time period. We look at the director's work from the time period. We look at how it was shot. Was it on location? Was it a studio? You also know that you don't think that Hitchcock really ever wanted it to look like that. You know, so you kind of get to a place where you think it should be. It's using a combination of scoped waveforms and vector scopes for color, if there's color, and also just using your eyes with the picture with a properly calibrated monitor. We have nice dark blacks. We have whites that don't get blown out, like in the sign here. At the same time as we grade them and make them look like contrasty, beautiful images that you would expect to see, we put them through a restoration. And the restoration happens simultaneously, in this case, with the color correction. We have lots of different people working on the project at the same time. In these rooms surrounding us are various restoration equipment.
My name is Russell. I work in the QC restoration department at Criterion Collection. And this is a completely unrestored scan of the Foreign Correspondent. I just want to show you guys what it looks like before any sort of processing happens. You can see the light, scratches and dirt, and there's some large film damage coming up. The idea is to make it look clean but not create artifacts or put anything that wasn't there. Right now I'm displaying all the fixes that I've made. The blue outlines are where the fixes are made. So, this is very useful if we want to go back and delete anything that we've done, just in case we've introduced anything that we don't want. All that damage is there.
I'm Ryan Hollings. I'm the head of the audio department here, and I do a lot of the restoration of the sound for films. Right now I'm working on a Foreign Correspondent, and things like dirt on the optical track will sound like clicks and pops and hiss and noise and all that kind of stuff. So we go through and, using a combination of automated processes and hand fixes, remove all those things. It's pretty meticulous. Something like in here, right as the car goes through that puddle, the top end gets real crackly and nasty. It's just distortion in the analog. It's analog distortion. It's probably been there forever. First I would try a decrackler that can kind of automatically get rid of distortion. It doesn't always do a great job. It's really hit or miss. The coolest thing to happen to audio restoration in a long time is spectral repair tools. What it does is give you a spectrogram of the sound where you've got time on the x-axis, frequency on the y-axis, and the intensity of the audio signal is represented by the colors. With old technology, I would have to just remove everything there and use an algorithm that would guess what is supposed to be there based on what precedes and follows it. With this, I'm able to just remove what's on top. It allows us to make really seamless fixes without affecting the audio above and below it. Render it, and I can preview it. And all that crackle's totally gone.
My name is Eric Skillman. I'm one of the art directors at Criterion. I work on all the covers and packaging and menu designs. We're always working on 7, 8 things at a time at various different stages of production. I think one of the best things about the way we do design here at Criterion versus other places is that, we're really all about trying to stay true to the director's vision and to what the film is, which is, I think leads us to a lot more interesting sort of design places than just putting a famous actor on the cover because they're a famous actor. For the Hitchcock film Foreign Correspondent, we called up Patrick Ledger, who's an illustrator we worked with a couple times, who is fantastic and great, and had him do a few sketches. So this right here is his first take on what was my initial idea of, there's a famous, not to give too much away, but assassination scene in the film. He did a couple variations on that theme, but then he also sent this other thing of kind of the moment right after where our lead character sort of chasing the assassin through the umbrellas, polished that up a little bit, signed off on that, and then we brought in a designer to work on some typography, a guy named Efron Miller, who is sort of our guru of period type. He made, a lot of different variations on the treatment. And then we actually stumbled onto this type that was used in the original film trailer and sort of sent that to Ron and said, could you do something maybe inspired by that? Which he turned into this. Ultimately wound up there. That's the final painting, which I think is pretty snazzy.